You ever wonder why you learned about the Pythagorean theorem, but maybe not how to file your taxes? Well, it's not as random as you might think. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the master plan behind everything you learn in school. It's called curriculum intent. And really, this question is at the very heart of our topic today. Because, while learning can sometimes feel a bit all over the place, the most effective education is never, ever accidental. It's always built on a solid foundation of clear, powerful intent. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start way up high with a 30,000-foot view of the destination. Then we'll zoom into the city map. And finally, we'll get those turn-by-turn directions that guide a single lesson. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so let's tackle the big one right out of the gate. What exactly is curriculum intent? I promise it's more than just a buzzword. It's really the why behind the what of education. Think of it like this. You wouldn't build a house by just throwing bricks together, right? You'd need a blueprint. Well, curriculum intent is that blueprint. It's the whole purposeful plan that makes sure every single piece of learning contributes to a strong, coherent structure. All right, let's start from the very top. We're talking that 30,000-foot view, the big, ambitious, long-term vision for what education is even all about. Aims are kind of like the North Star of education. They aren't about a specific lesson on a Tuesday afternoon. Nope. They're about the kind of person society hopes to create over a whole lifetime of learning. Shaping good citizens, critical thinkers, and lifelong learners. Now, that's a beautiful and really important idea. But let's be honest, you can't just develop positive self-concepts on a daily lesson plan. It's way too big, too abstract. So how in the world do we bring this lofty goal down to earth? Well, this is where we move from that grand vision of the architect to the builder's detailed plan. We're starting to translate those big abstract ideas into a much more focused roadmap for learning. So, if the aim is to explore a city, the goals are things like visit the main museum or see the famous monuments. See, they're still pretty broad, but they give us a much, much clearer idea of what we're actually going to do. See how that sharpens the focus? We've gone from the really abstract, positive self-concept to a tangible area of social development. So we're making progress, but we're still not quite at the classroom level yet. And that brings us to where the rubber really meets the road. We're moving from just ideas to actual action. These are the specific, measurable, turn-by-turn directions for learning. The key word here, the most important one, is observable. An objective isn't about what a student knows inside their head. It's about what they can do to prove they've learned it. It's concrete, it's measurable, and it leaves absolutely no room for doubt. Look at how precise this is. It specifies the condition, given the necessary information. It specifies the action, construct a right-angled triangle, and it specifies the standard with 100% accuracy. Now that is a powerful, actionable objective. And what I find really fascinating is how this table just pulls it all together. You can see the clear handoff, right, from these huge philosophical ideas from society all the way down to the practical, technical language of a single lesson plan. It really is the journey from why to what to how. So, okay, we have these three distinct levels: aims, goals, and objectives. But how do they actually fit together? How do we make sure that some small classroom activity is actually serving this huge societal vision? Well, let's take a look at the flow. This visual shows what you could call the curriculum cascade just perfectly. It's a logical flow, a chain of purpose. A single broad aim can branch out into multiple goals, and each of those breaks down into even more specific objectives. This is how you make sure that every single lesson is truly aligned with the ultimate purpose. But this raises a really important question. Where do these big aims and goals even come from? I mean, who decides what society needs or what's truly valuable? Well, they aren't just pulled out of thin air. They're actually the product of a deep conversation between three key areas. So we've seen this whole intricate, structured system for planning education. But why go through all this trouble? What's the real payoff in the real world of teaching and learning? Let's dig into why this stuff matters so much. Here's the bottom line. Clear objectives are the engine of effective education. They provide direction so everyone knows where they're going. They guide planning so the journey is logical and makes sense. And they enable assessment so you can actually measure if you've arrived.
It's really the difference between a planned expedition and just wandering around in the woods. So, what separates a good objective from a great one? For any educators watching, you can think of this as your quality control checklist. A great objective isn't just specific, it's comprehensive, consistent, attainable, and maybe most importantly, it's valid, making sure the task isn't just clear, but actually worth doing. You know, this whole idea of intentionality is summed up so beautifully in this quote from education expert Karen Zumwalt. She argues that teaching, just by its very nature, is a purposeful act. It's not just about delivering content. It's about having a clear, defensible reason for every single thing you do. And this leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about, whether you're a student, a parent, or an educator. Think about the education you've experienced. Can you trace that clear, unbroken line from a big societal idea all the way down to a specific classroom activity? Because when you can, that's when you know you're part of something truly purposeful. Thanks so much for joining this explainer. The sources that informs this presentation are on your screen now. We really hope this gives you a new lens to view the world of education through. We'll see you next time.